What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to channel Musu Game here, and today I want to talk to you about the best legendary equipment tier list for Rise of Kingdoms. And in this tier list, what I'll do is I'll go over each and every legendary piece of equipment that is available for you as of June of 2025. And I'll go over a little bit of what it does in terms of stats that it provides or what it does if it's accessories. And I'll assign a tier based on the standards that I actually put at each tier that you see up here on the screen. And yeah, that's basically how this tier list will work. Pretty simple, right? And let's just first go over what each tier means. Now, triple S tier is actually the greatest of all times. Now, by its definition, greatest of all time just means that there is only one greatest of all time equipment that is available for you in Rise of Kingdoms, right? So I'll only assign one piece of equipment in that triple S tier. Now, double S means that it is best of its slots, but it is also superior than other troop types equipment for that slot and for that slot only. For example, if this equipment is actually providing you different type of stats or providing you more stats than other troop types equipment does, then I'll go ahead and assign this SS tier, that equipment into this SS tier. And S tier means that it is best of its slot for one or more troops. So if this is basically the equipment that is part of your technical best set for each troop type, you'll at least be in that triple S, SS, or S tier basically. So that's what that means. Now A tier, moving on to A tier means that it is best alternative for the slot. So this piece of equipment may not be the best of its slot, but then again, it is actually either very close to its best alternative, or it does provide a little bit of extra edge for that slot. So that's what that means. And then B means it is used for the slot. A lot of people are using it for the slot. But then again, it is actually no longer preferred for the slot. So it is not part of the best alternative for the slot, and so forth. Now, C means it is usable, but not recommended for the slot. That means it is not absolutely trash, but like if you have it crafted, maybe you shouldn't be dismantling it. If you don't have enough for everyone that you have on the lineup, but then again, it is eventually recommended that you replace it with something else. That's what the C tier means. Now F means that do not craft. If you crafted this, GG, you just wasted a lot of legendary equipment, materials. You just gotta dismantle it and so forth. So yeah, F just means that you're lubud, basically. Alright, so with that said, let's just go ahead and move on to each and every equipment that is listed up here. Let's go ahead and start from the siege weapon, which is called Twilight Epiphany. I don't even know if I actually said that right, but Twilight Epiphany is actually the perfect example of best of its slot for one or more troops. Now, this is actually the best equipment for siege units, right? It does provide you 25% siege attack and 6% siege movement speed, so it is good. But it is technically not the best of its slot, meaning that it is not the best weapon piece that is available for any other troop type, because there is this piece right here, Hydra's bow. Now, Hydra's bow is interesting because this is the only equipment in the game that provides defense stat in weapon slot. So this is a perfect example of a double S slot equipment piece right here. It will actually give you the preferred stats, which is the defense stats, over attack, which is the least preferred stat, despite it being a weapon slot. And this is the only equipment piece that can provide you 25% of defense in the game. And in fact, this is the only piece of equipment that will actually give you like 32.5%, I believe. Let me go ahead and check what my sacred domain. Yeah, 32.5% of defense when critted in all game. So yeah, this is a perfect example of what an S tier would look like and SS tier would look like in this tier list. Pretty simple, right? All right, so let's just go ahead and move on. We got a lot to cover. And then let's just go ahead and move on to this piece of equipment right here, which is Immolating Plume. And whenever this warrior's troop deals range direct damage or range smite damage, it has 50% chance to increase the damage by 30%, with a cooldown of 5 seconds. So this, I think, is a very powerful equipment for siege units, especially if you're actually trying to do just massive one-time damage. The only thing that I'm a little bit hesitant to give it a too high up a tier is because a lot of siege units actually don't do one-time only damage. In fact, they actually do like damage over time with like things like Margaret, right? So I don't know if it's SS tier that I should be giving it or S tier that I should be giving it. I'll actually assign it an S tier. This is a very solid S. Like, if I'm using a range march, I'll actually use like the Horn of Fury and Immolating Plume if I was you. So very strong piece of equipment. And yeah, it is, I think, part of the best, technically the best set for siege units, in my opinion. And yeah, that's just basically my assessment on that. Let's just go ahead and move on. Hero's Hilt. Now, this is the new combo damage accessory. Now, this is a very interesting equipment because this has 50% chance to gain 3% bonus to all types of combo damage for the next 5 seconds with 0 cooldown, and this can stack up to 5 times. So this could provide potentially up to 20% of combo damage uplift for you at all times. And if you think about, let's say you're doing half of your damage, actually more like 40% of your damage, because that's more realistic. If you're doing combo damage, most likely 40%, maybe 40% is a decent kind of percentage of damage that you're dealing. And you're doing 20% uplift on that with a chance. So that means it's 8% if it's at full stack. But the problem is, can this actually maintain max stats at all times? It has 50% chance to trigger. So even if you hit a 5 times combo in a very off chance, you're likely gonna only have 2 stacks. And then it has 5 seconds lasting time. I personally don't think that this is even an A. I think this is B tier equipment. It is actually going to fit the use for the slot but not prefer for the slot zone, right? Because in my opinion, I think having Horn of Fury or Ring of Doom is probably better for even combo damage commander for that. especially now when there's only like Subutai and Arthur, who doesn't really have a good pair of combo damage dealing commanders. Now this could change when, like, let's say the new combo damage commander does insane amount of combo damage that would actually uplift that combo percentage that a combo march does to an insane amount. But for now, I think this is probably the B tier. Even if it's at max buffing, uh, at max credit buffing your marches, like combo damage by 20%. But like having like full uptime on that is actually just crazy. So yeah, I'll just put it on the B tier. Yeah, let's just go ahead and move on. All right, so this is Infantry KVK helmet, and as all KVK helmet does provide, it does actually provide 15% defense. So I'll actually put it somewhere here, and I'll put it above all those other pieces because this is actually the KVK weapon, KVK helmet that it just provides the 15% defense. There's nothing really beats it for infantry equipment. So, and infantry is more important than siege units, so I'll just go ahead and put it at the very first slot of S tier and move on. Now, Ash of the Dawn. Ash of the Dawn, Ash of the Dawn, Ash of the Dawn. Now, Ash of the Dawn is gonna provide you 12% health, which is the best of its actually like type, quote unquote, because it does provide you 12% health, not 12% attack, not 12% defense, like all the other like infantry and archers piece of equipment actually provide. This is 12% health, right? And I think this is probably going to deserve either SS tier or S tier. I think we should give it an SS tier because again, no other equipment provides this much health for cavalry, infantry, or archers. I think Siege Pants does provide 14.5% health, but I think we should count Siege kind of differently from infantry and cavalry and archers because at the end of the day, you're gonna feel more often with infantry, cavalry, and archers than siege. And siege is just, you can't swarm a flag with siege. You can't rally with siege. So I think we should just look at it a little bit differently. So yeah, so that's basically where I'll put it. And let's just go ahead and move on because we got a lot more to cover. So this is Armband of the Hellish Wasteland. This is a cavalry set piece that will provide you 7.5% defense. Now, usually I would actually put this in the B tier, but I do want to mention that for cavalry and cavalry only, defense is almost as valuable as health because there are so many pieces of equipment that does provide you health. So I was tempted to put it in A as the best alternative for the slot, but I think it is actually, yeah, you still want health for cavalry because even though the difference is slight, only slight, I think cavalry health is still the best stat in the for its basically a piece equipment piece. So yeah, health is still the preferred stat over defense for cavalry. So I'll just put this in a B, but the very front seat of the B tier, I would say. And we got the full Cavalry Hellish set right here. So let's just go ahead and rank each and every one of them. So Cavalry Hellish set, boost of the Hellish Wasteland, 7.5% Cavalry health. Very strong piece. In fact, is this the only piece that gives you 7.5% health? It is the only piece that can provide you 7.5% health. So actually, I'm just gonna bump it up a little bit to the SS tier, because this is the only boost, aside from the leadership boost, that provides you health stats in the game. And not only that, it provides you the best amount of health stats in the game. So I'll say, yeah, it does deserve that SS tier slot over there. All right. That's it. There's no argument about it. Let's go ahead and move on. Now, this is an interesting set. Tessess of the Hellish Wasteland. This is the leg piece for pants piece, leg piece, whatever it is that we would like to call it, for cavalry set. But it only provides you 11% attack. Now that is a significant difference between this one right here and Ash of the Dawn, which will give you 11% health. And I think this is actually the piece of equipment that I will put into F tier. Do not craft tier. Like, it is not even usable if it's like attack over health, in my opinion. So yeah, this is where I'll put it. I don't think anyone's gonna disagree on that. Alright, now the Hellish Wasteland Helmet. Now this is actually a very interesting piece. This will give you 11% cavalry defense. And although that is not health, I think this is a very good piece of equipment that you can use. And this is a perfect example of best alternative for the slot, right? We also obviously do have Pride of the Con, which can go into S tier. But this piece right here is only best alternative for the slot, right? So it does provide you the same type of stats, which is defense, and also at the same time, it does provide you less. So it's a perfect example of A tier. Speaking of another A tier, I think the Hellish Wasteland weapon, the Lance of the Hellish Wasteland, is also another A tier equipment. This is best alternative to its S tier alternative, which is a Sacred Dominion, which will give you 25% attack. And this one provides you 20%. So pretty straightforward. Now let's see. The Heavy Armor of Hellish Wasteland. This is a piece of equipment that will provide you 11% health, right? And there's no other alternative on this slot that you can actually use that provides you a better slot. So I'll go ahead and put this at S tier. And let's just go ahead and move on. Navarre's Control. That's what we call it, right? Navarre's Control. 8% health for cavalry, non-set piece. So this is obviously at least S tier. And thus, is there any other piece of equipment that does provide you health on this one? On the glove piece? No. Then this will all obviously get bumped up to SS tier. And let's move on. Yeah, that's basically a right place for it, I think. And let's go ahead and move on. Mountain Crusher. So this is legendary cavalry boost that provides you 8% attack. Now, its alternative to that is actually this one, which is the Hellish Wasteland boost, which will give you 8% health. No, 7.5% health. So although it does provide more stats, Attack versus health is just it's just something that you can't compare. So I'm gonna put it at F tier. Do not craft. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. So this is right here is a KVK Archer helmet, Ancestral Mask of the Night. Now this is actually the only KVK helmet that provides you attack stat. And although it only provides attack stats, I'll at least have to put it into the last place for S tier because it is technically part of the best equipment piece set for archers, right? So it is what it is. You still have to use it for the best slot because of Hydra's bow and all that stuff. And yeah, it's best of its slots, but it does deserve the last place in my opinion because it gives you attack instead of defense, like all the other troop types. In fact, actually, I think it is better for me to actually move this one right here all the way up here as S tier. It is best of its slot among all troop types because for the legendary equipment piece for legendary KVK, among the legendary KVK helmets, the cavalry and infantry both provides you 15% defense, right? And that's actually superior to whatever archers one provide, which is the 15% attack. So naturally, I think it is better for us to actually move that up to the SS tier, which is the best of its slot among all troops. Yeah, I think that's probably it. And I'll actually just move the Pride of the Khan, which is basically the same piece of equipment for cavalry, but KVK helmet, which will provide the exact same amount of defense stats for that slot. So I think both of them basically deserves SS tier. Now this, I even forgot what it was called. Let me go ahead and look that up. Where do I have that even like placed in? I forgot. There you go. It's on my Minamoto. So Trial of the Lost Kingdom. So this is a piece of equipment that will provide you 50% defense. I mean, it is usable but not recommended for the slot. Is probably the best assessment of this, right? Like you can use it. It's better than non-critted like cavalry weapon, but the problem with this one is that you can't upgrade it or you can't iconic it, right? So ever since the iconics and all that stuff kind of came out, this kind of fell off a little bit. But in the beginning of the game, I think this is kind of usable, in my opinion. So yeah, that's why I'll put it in a C tier. And let's just go ahead and move on. Now, what is this? I think this is that the infantry one? No, this is the archer one. This is the archer commander's boost. This is a non-set piece of it. And then this is going to be providing you attack. Now, technical best set is actually the leadership for archer boost, right? And then the set piece boost for archers actually provide you 7.5% defense, right? 7.5% defense, right? So I will put this at a do not craft list because there's no way that you'll benefit from attack more so than defense, and also at the same time, like you should just craft the Dragon Breast set. Like, why are you crafting this? So yeah, that's where I put it. Eternal Night. Eternal Night is actually the best example of either A or B, right? This is the best alternative for the slot. Or the best alternative for the best for the slot but not preferred slot. This is a hard one. I think it still deserves the last piece of A tier. I mean, it's a lot more accessible than all the other pieces, right? Nowadays, actually, all of them are a lot more accessible. Like, yeah, this used to be just what you can get. This is the only piece of equipment that you can get from KVK shop. But defense over health, yeah, I would actually put it in the very first slot of the B tier. Like, it's used for the slot, but nowadays, I think the leadership piece is just a lot better for that slot, especially for the pants. So, unfortunately, I'll bring it down to B tier for Eternal Night. But if you have Eternal Night, dude, like just use it. It's okay. It's okay to use Eternal Night, I think. Now Dagger. Oh my god. Dagger. Dagger. So Dagger is definitely not gonna be in the A tier. Like there's no way that I'll put Dagger into A tier. Would I put it in the last place for B tier or C tier? Is this comparable to all those equipments? I'll actually put it in C tier. A little bit above the spear. And I'll just call it a day. That's probably pretty good place for Dagger, in my opinion. Alright, let's just go ahead and move on. All the Dragon Breast set, I'm gonna put it in best alternative slot. Just because of how great they are as a set piece. In fact, I'll actually put them ahead of Cavalry sets because they have a skill damage buff that they provide as 4-piece bonus, and I think that is better than the Cavalry's 4-piece bonus, which is counterattack damage increase, right? So I think they're much better in that way. This provides health. This provides, I think, defense or attack. Actually attack, and then this provides attack. But pants they're better alternatives, so I'll just go ahead and leave it with that. So yeah, all breast sets are amazing in my opinion. So I'll just go ahead and put them all up there. Now Shio's return. Shio's return. It's an interesting piece. I would actually put it right next to... No. Yeah, I'll actually put it right next to the Eternal Night. I think they basically have the same problem, but then again, they all have like similar issues at the end of the day, so I'm not gonna have too much details. But yeah, it's basically, you can get it from the KVK shop easy. It's a lot of people use it as Iconic 5. Like, it's not the worst piece of equipment. And you can still use it, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'll just put it over here, and I'll call it a day. Now, this is Milky Way, right? Yeah, I think this is Milky Way. The Milky Way, 12% Archer health. So the interesting part about Milky Way is that a lot of people actually use Milky Way for the best kind of Archer set, number 3 or 2. So I'll put this in the A tier. Probably around right next to the set piece bonus, set piece for archers. And what I also just realized is, am I missing the Dragon Breath boost? Oh no, it's right here. So Dragon Breath boost, I'm just gonna put it right there, where it deserves. All the Dragon Breath sets, again, are really, really strong. In fact, I'll just move all the Dragon Breath pieces just because I could be forgetting them, right? So the bow does deserve probably the best slot, A tier. Just because of the fact that it does give you defense over attack, which is better than the other pieces of equipment. Now, Dragon Breast said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing the gloves. Am I not? Where is the gloves? I think this is, yeah, this is it, right? No, this is the infantry one. This is Dragon Breath glove. There you go. And it does provide you 7.5% archer attack. I'll just put it right here. Okay, there you go. The full set of Dragon Breath set is all up there. Crazy. Great. And this is actually the Greaves of the Eternal Empire, which is the infantry leg piece that provides you 11% infantry attack. Now, its alternative is Eternal Knight, which is going to give you 12% infantry defense, and also the leadership boost, which will give you 8% health. So I'll put this in a do not craft list. Don't craft it. Doesn't have any advantage whatsoever. If you did craft this, I would recommend that you dismantle it one day. But yeah, let's just go ahead and move on. Sturdy Boost of Eternal Empire. Now I'll actually put this in the A tier because I think a lot of people still use the two pieces. No. Yeah, it's best alternative for the slot. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so I think a lot of people still use 4-piece of legendary equipment set piece, helmet set piece, glove set piece, and then boost set piece. So that you can use 4-piece bonus for the infantry march speed for infantry set pieces. And I think that is still technically better if you're not using KVK set for that. So I would actually put this in the last slot, A tier. Same with the infantry set gloves, which will provide you I think defense, 7.5% defense if I remember correctly. Yeah, 7.5% defense, and also at the same time set piece bonus for that. So I think a lot of people still use that combo for infantry, so I think it's not a terrible idea to put this over here. Infantry set helmet. Now this piece of equipment right here actually provides you 11% infantry defense. It is probably the definition of A tier, but I'll actually put it a little bit ahead of everything else in terms of the infantry pieces, just because, yeah, it actually, if you're not using KVK weapons and KVK helmet, this is actually the best alternative. But like those two pieces are getting pushed out by leadership piece instead of KVK pieces, so yeah, I think this is probably the best slot for that. Now for this one right here, Plate of the Eternal Empire. This is the infantry set chest piece, and this will provide you 11% attack, which is far less valuable than the 12% defense that Hope Cloak provides. So I'll put this at a do not craft list. And let's move on. Mora's Web. Mora's Web is whenever you do normal attack, you have 30% chance to reduce the target's defense by 4%, and the march speed of the cavalry cavalry units by 8%, stacking up to 3 seconds, each stack lasting 3 seconds. So this is actually, I think, would I say this is not do not craft? This debuff. Yeah, I would like dagger is at least debuffing the health, right? Yeah, Morris Web, but it's still kind of unique on its own. If you want to debuff when you're swarming stuff, I guess it still can be usable, but I'll put it at the very, very last place for C. This one is Vengeance, giving you counterattack damage, and I think this is usable. is more of a use for the slot but not prefer for the slot. I'll put it at the end of the B tier. Now, all hail the horn, right? Horn is triple S, goat, greatest of all types. Horn, for example, for your reference, it has 30% chance to give you 50 rage, and once critted, it will give you 65 rage. Horn is just goat. Like, there's no other equipment that could actually buff your march better than Horn. I recommend that you get Horn for every single one of your march, and then think about the other accessories based on what you have. So Horn is the greatest of all time, in my opinion, of all equipments in Rising Kingdoms. I don't think there's really much debate about it. Let's just go ahead and move on. Ring of Doom. Now, Ring of Doom is probably the best of its slot among all troops, especially for Rally Garrison. If you're Rally Garrison, I think Ring of Doom is a better equipment, even if you're using something like smite damage dealing commander or combo damage dealing commander, and you can use what's this called? Greatest Glory. This will provide you more fluctuation, and if you have some other troops kind of mixed, I think Ring of Doom still does provide you better stats. In fact, it is so good that I'll actually move it all the way up to double S tier because of how strong Ring of Doom is and how versatile Ring of Doom is. And there's a reason why Ring of Doom and Horn of Fury as a set were the best two pieces of equipment, just hands down, in Rise of Kingdoms for such a long time. Now, let's just go ahead and move on. Moving on to Greatest Glory. I'll actually put it at the very first slot of S tier. And that's just because, best of its slot for one or more troops. No, that's not best of. I think Ring of Horn and Horn of Fury, like this still provides you more. So the difference between Ring of Horn and Horn of Fury for smite dealing damage commanders as well as combo dealing damage commanders is that this is more consistent damage buff. This is more versatile damage buff. And also, if you get lucky with Ring of Doom, let's say you trigger this and in the turn that you're doing active skill, this has a lot more potential than Greatest Glory. But, so I think Ring of Doom is a better alternative. But technically it doesn't fit the description of S tier too, right? Best of its slot for one or more troops. But I'll make one exception. I'll make one exception for Greatest Glory just because of how strong it is. For people who are looking for more consistent damage output, you can mix it with counterattack damage buffing like Vengeance, and then you can do massive just counterattack damage in some cases. So I'll make an exception for Greatest Glory and then put it in the S tier. How about that? Problem solved. Let's move on. This I forgot even what Pendant of Eternal Night, is that what it's called? This provides you 5% skill damage. Goes up to what, like 7%? Like, I don't even know, but this is trash. Do not craft. Do not craft this. Lucky Coin. This actually gives you 10% chance to gain a damage absorbing shield with damage factor 500 for 2 seconds when attacked. Can only trigger once every 5 seconds. This actually is usable, but it's very limited in its usage, so I'll just put it at the very last place for C tier. And let's just go ahead and move on. Alright, so this piece is interesting, right? So Sacred Grasp is interesting because of the fact that the best technical infantry equipment setup is actually going to include Sacred Grasp because it's going to use two pieces of weapon and helmet for KVK pieces, and then it's going to use Hope Cloak for the chest piece, and then it's going to use Sacred Grip for the 8% defense, which is only 5.5% worse than better than the set piece gloves, but still is better than the set piece glove, right? And then two pieces of leadership boots and pants, like pants and boots, right? So yeah, I'll actually put this in the S tier. I'll put it above here. I'll probably put it all above all those. Same reason, Hope Cloak, part of the best equipment sets piece in Rising Kingdoms. Actually, I'll put it a little bit above because it does provide you more stats. And also, this is just universally much better piece of equipment. Now, non-set archer gloves. I'll just put it in the do not craft tier. Just because of the fact that, well, actually, gives you 0.5% more. 222. Actually, this is not F. So if you're using, let's say, the two KVK pieces for archers, and then you're using two leadership pieces, which are either pants and boots or pants and gloves. If you're using pants and gloves, boots, then Dragon Breath, gloves, and chest is actually still better. Never mind. Yeah, this is do not craft. Don't craft this at all. Let's move on. Infantry equipment, probably right next to the cavalry one. Infantry is a little better than cavalry lately, so I'll just go ahead and put it over there, and let's just move on. Alright, the test set of the War God. This is the archer piece, archer pants that will give you 12% archer attack. Now this is actually providing you 1% extra stats over whatever the archer set does provide. But then again, is this better? No, I'll just put it as C tier. Some people might use it. Actually, no, I'll put it F tier. Alright, let's just go ahead and move on. Alright, my apologies. Where was I? My wife just came back, so let's just go ahead and finish this as soon as possible. Sacred Dominion, best of its piece slot for one of our troops. It's not as good as Hydra's Bow because it doesn't provide you that 25% defense over attack. It does provide you only attack, but it is best of its slot, so I'll just go ahead and put it right here and move on. Drum. Actually, well, it's definitely SS tier, right? It's really the matter of fact that, like, should I put this above ring or below ring is the question, right? Now, in terms of versatility, I think still ring is the better of the two because you can use ring for rally and garrison on top of field marches, but drums you can only use it for non-rally, non-garrison field marches, right? So I think a slot right behind ring is probably the best slot for that. Yeah, let's just go ahead and move on. That's probably the best place for it for now, at least. But a very, very strong piece. With 10% chance, you actually grant 50 rage up to 2 nearby enemies. and this can trigger once every 3 seconds. So it does have a little bit of cooldown. It could go up to 65 rage though, so a very strong piece of equipment. But then again, for it to be compared to Ring, just because of its versatility wise, I think I'll just put Ring over Drum for now. My mind could change on that though. Those two are very interchangeable in terms of ranking. So let's see. Let's check once we get when we do the next one. How about that? Now, Set's Call. Attacks have 10% chance to grant all this grants all this commander's troop and two nearby troops 10% increase attack for 3 seconds. This is a buffing what's it called? Buffing accessory. This is a C tier, not a F. The reason why it's not a F is because I think some people might use it in their leadership. Only, like, for example, if you're using Philip and Trajan with Echelon, this actually might be usable. So I'll go ahead and put this right here. All right, the entire what's this called? Entire siege set pieces are here. The reason why I froze a little bit was because I see the weapon, so weapons there twice. So my apologies there. Entire siege equipment sets are here, and I'm just gonna put them right next to where the weapon is. They're all really great. And they provide just great stuff for Siege. Siege legendary equipment is just kind of goated at the end of the day. I'll actually put the pants right next to Ash of the Dawn, just because of how strong. It actually provides you 14.5% health, and I'll actually put it above the pants. There's no other equipment that does provide that much health in the game. So yeah, I think pants specifically for the siege set, I think does deserve a spot above Ash of the Dawn. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So this is a leadership chess piece, and it was called the Plate of the Glorious Goddess. Provides you 8% troop defense, and unfortunately, this is a do not craft. The reason why it's do not craft is, for one, archers have 12% health with Milky Way, and then the Dragon Breath gives you 11%. Cavalry has same deal, 11% health. And infantry has basically this one right here, right? This will give you the whole club will give you 12% defense. So, and there's no place for this to live anywhere. So I'll just go ahead and give it this ranking right here. F tier. Hammer is good. S tier. One above cavalry because infantry is the better troop type lately for us to actually start with. So yeah, it is what it is. Let's move on. Boots are the best of its slot for one or more troops for leadership, and this is actually the part of the best equipment set for archers and infantry, but it's not as good as the cavalry boost. So I'll actually put the leadership boost all the way up here. Very strong set. Leadership gloves. What was it called? The Gauntlets of Glorious Goddess. So I think this is one of the top 8 here because there is a slot. There is a technical best set on archers that you can use it with. I still think that it is better for you to actually maximize health with the boost leadership boost and depends. So I'll just put it at the very top slot of A tier, but I'll not put it anywhere above that. All right, let's move on. Leadership weapon, 15% attack. I'll actually put it at the do not craft list, just because of the fact that this is a. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll move all the leadership pieces out of F and then into C, just because of the fact that if you want a truly mixed troop type, you can still technically use them as leadership. My recommendation is that when you want to use like leadership, or leadership troop type, like with mixed troop, you still should kind of have one troop type as a main troop to use, with like 95% of your troops as like either cavalry or infantry or archer. So that's why these are not good. But if you really want like a city garrison or something like that, that I think this is still usable. If you already have those crafted and you have like the full echelon like leadership march, then I think this is somewhat usable. But really not recommended at the slot. You can just crit leadership with like other pieces of equipment such as infantry or cavalry and stuff, so that you can actually use it for those troop types. In my opinion. So that's why I originally put them in F, but yeah, there's still somewhat usable slots for those. Now let's move on to leadership helmet, 8% attack. Diadem of the Glorious Goddess. Worse than other troop types like equipments, hands down. So I'll just put it as C. Although I think, given that it does provide attack, yeah, it does deserve itself the last slot right here. All right, let's move on to leadership pants. Now, leadership pants is actually probably the best pants that you can use for archers and infantry, right? And I don't know if I should put it in SS tier because of Ash of the Dawn, but the uniqueness of it providing the health. Yeah, I'll actually put it in the S tier. We just gotta go by the definitions, right? We can't make that many exceptions in this tier list, so. And I'll actually put it right above the boost because both, like all of the variations of infantry and archers are actually going to use this, right? In fact, I'll actually put it above those two pieces of equipment just because of the fact that they have more versatility than the other ones. And cavalry chest piece, non set piece chest piece. I forgot what this was called. It provides you attack over the health that the set piece provides. So, do not craft list. Like, do not craft this one. It's just waste of your money, waste of your time. All the gathering gears, I'll just put them at the usable, not recommend this first slot. Just because you can still use it. But if you have that many bones, then you can still craft them, but like not everyone's gonna. You can't use it for siege, right? Because the new siege equipments are just goated, so yeah, you don't really have place for that. But yeah, so that's basically where I'll put those. And then the new smite one, I'll just put it do not craft. It's just better for you to craft either Grey Scullery or Ring of Doom, and then Horn of Fury is just a must for everyone. So yeah, so that's where I'll put everything. Now, is there anything that I can move up from here? Let's see. Archer chess piece. So those two, I think Dragon Breath's Breath chess piece deserves a place right here. Milky Way, I think, is still best alternative. Just because it does provide you health, 11% health, and also it's basically best of this archer slot, right? So I think that, like, yeah, it deserves that slot right there. Where's the Sacred Grist? Okay, right there. Okay, cool. So that's basically it. That's basically where I'll put everything in terms of this this legendary equipment tier list for Rise of Kingdoms. I hope this was helpful for you. If you did find this video helpful, please go ahead and drop a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. As always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video. And if you don't agree with any of the things that I actually said here, please feel free to leave it down in the comment down below. And also feel free to join the Discord from the link in the description down below, so that you can talk about this with me in my Discord channel, as well as other people that are on the Discord channel. And I would love to discuss things about Rise of Kingdoms at all times. Alright, so that was it. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video. Alright, peace.